Game on.
We're here.
Welcome to Today in L.A. I am sitting in Mike Amos's chair while Mike is at Panama City Beach at his new beach house.
Nice little vacation.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, I hope everybody knows Jim Jackson, the owner and president of Bill Jackson Chevrolet and Bill Jackson Ford that sponsors this show. Jim, thank y'all for doing this.
We enjoy it, man.
And he's also the best picker in probably Pike County, proven year after year. And also sitting in with me again is our good friend, Coach Forrest Lee, who recently retired after how many years in education, Forrest?
32 years.
And he also retired from the Alabama National Guard. How many years did you get in there?
21.
So you're going to have fun going to the mailbox picking up all those
checks.
all those checks.
You just want me and Bill to keep working, don't you?
I'm going to join the workforce soon.
And we will be joined shortly by Michael Amos Jr. What should we call? We call him Little Mike or
Little Mike, call him Mike, and call him and I'm me.
Okay, we got me, and then we got Little Mike that'll be joining us from.
Michael, call him Michael and call me Mike.
Okay. Michael is a great picker and a fearless person when it comes to sharing an opinion, as we all know.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, his opinions are often right on. I'll tell you, he was the first one I know in Pike County that picked up on the fact that Troy's football team had tremendous attrition, especially on defense this year.
Oh, yeah, they had several injuries early, I think.
And then people that didn't make grades and then people that transferred. And he said, this is really adding up. I mean, and then you add on to that graduation last year. And he said your whole defense is basically gone, and that turned out to be the case for Troy. Great offense, but couldn't stop anybody.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cold, but 2 years ago, you know, Alabama was just decimated on defense. Mm-hmm. They wound up losing 35 starts, I think, during the season on defense. What a lot of people don't know is going into the Western Carolina game last weekend, they had already lost 47 starts on defense this year. Well, so now, after the Western Carolina game, they're up into the mid-50s. So they're 20 games higher in missed starts than they were in 17.
You're right, because you do too.
Oh, it'd have to be, I'm sure. You know, we got the big one coming up this week with Alabama and Auburn. Another way to look at it is Alabama. The dominant player on defense for Auburn is Derrick Brown. He's their difference maker. Mm-hmm. Alabama lost their Derrick Brown and Dylan Moses before they ever kicked off.
Great point.
And another All-American that would have been just as important to them as Derrick Brown is.
Can I tell you a story along those lines? 2 years ago, everybody remembers that it was no given that Alabama was going to make the playoffs. Everybody was kind of thinking that it was going to be Ohio State. You remember when Kirk Herbstreit walked off the set when they announced Alabama? I didn't like that one bit as an Alabama fan. I thought Alabama was getting the raw deal. The narrative was, well, Alabama lost its last game to Auburn, and my argument was losing to Auburn it should not disqualify a team.
Now, this year, if they do, it legitimately does because it's their second loss, no doubt.
But I was trying to make the case that Alabama shouldn't be written off, and I did some analysis, and I came up with that exact same figure you just gave me about Alabama lost 35 starts on defense. Yep. They still blew through the schedule, blowing out most everybody. It takes a great team to overcome those injuries. Plus, Alabama is going to get back some of those guys in the playoffs, which is actually what happened. So
no doubt, and they were a different team. This year, they're not going to get a lot of those guys back.
Right. Maybe
Raekwon if he don't play.
If they could get back LeBron
Ray if he can make it, but it's the other thing you got to remember is the committee. If you look back, I think every year the committee's gotten it right.
I didn't think so.
In 2014, Ohio State got in,
and they won it
over Penn State, who beat them. And then Penn State won the conference championship game. Ohio State didn't even play in the conference championship game. Did the committee give the deserving team? Sure they did, because they won it all. In 2017, same exact scenario with Alabama. A lot of uproar, a lot of backlash around the country, but did the committee get it right? Sure they did, because Alabama won it all. Now, I don't think that can happen this year. I don't think Alabama's that good a football team.
Alabama is by far the weakest team they've had, but I still think they are one of the 4 best. I don't think they're one of the 3 best teams, but that doesn't matter. You just want to be one of the 4.
There's no doubt. When you start hearing all these arguments from the media, it's, well, they won a conference championship, or they're not even playing in their conference championship game. It doesn't say anything about playing in the conference championship game.
You get it.
The 14 people or 16 people that go behind closed doors to make the selection are looking for the 4 best teams in the country.
That conference championship comes in as a tiebreaker.
Correct.
If they assess 2 teams and say, that's a toss-up. Those teams are equal. Let's give it to the team that won the conference. So if Alabama is placed against Utah, the first decision they have to make is who's the better team. If they say, Alabama's a better team than Utah, that conference championship tiebreaker never even comes up, which happened last year when Ohio State was left out of the playoffs with 1 loss.
Correct.
Because Ohio State got steamrolled by, who was it, Purdue or somebody.
Iowa.
They had some terrible loss that they couldn't overcome.
I think it was Iowa.
I think it was Purdue last year because
maybe it was Purdue that
they
beat
had
them
that
bad.
kid with the cancer, remember?
Okay, that's right.
They won it. But
That's
one
right.
year it was Iowa.
I hear Mike Amos coming in right. This is Big Mike from the beach. And Jim, good to hear your voice this morning. A beautiful, beautiful sunrise to my east. And we're just enjoying this so much. And I appreciate you coming on so much, Jim. And
Well, I missed it last week. I was debating whether or not to try to come, but when I woke up, my left leg was about twice as big as my right one, and I wasn't going to be able to walk to the truck by myself. Jana would have had to have helped me, and I said, well, if that's the case, how am I going to get inside?
What did you have done?
I just had my left knee scoped.
Okay.
I just had it done on Tuesday afternoon, and that was on Thursday morning.
Is it an
so
old injury, or did you do something that hurt it?
No, I hadn't done anything lately, so it's something that's been there for a long time.
I've got knees.
My turn's coming.
see if we can bring
I've had them both done now. Well, it hasn't rang yet, but he'll come in just a minute.
Okay, and of course, it's a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday, and we're getting ready for our big Thanksgiving holiday. Jim, what are your plans for Thanksgiving? What are you going to do?
We're here for the first time in a long time. I'm going to get to stay at home.
And of course, you're going to carve the turkey. Your daddy's going to be there, I hope.
He'll be there. My brother's actually got to go up to Connecticut, I think, to see his son. So it'll be my wife and I and my kids and my mom and dad.
I know, are you going to the game? I know you go if it's in Tuscaloosa. Are you going to go to the game?
I haven't missed an Alabama-Auburn game since the late 70s.
My goodness.
But if I don't change my mind, I've got a good friend in Union Springs in Tommy Main. And he's got a place up there. If Jana wants to go, and of course Alex is going up on Friday. I know my daughter's going. But if Trace decides he wants to go, I will probably take him up there. And then I'll probably stay in Tommy's place and watch it on TV. I'm not sure I'm ready for that 3/4 of a mile walk back and forth to the stadium.
Yeah, that's true.
But somebody's got to shut the drugstore down up there, don't they?
Tommy is fully retired, Mike.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. He finally sold out to Thomas, and he is enjoying full retirement life.
Yeah. Well, he's a great guy. You're exactly right.
Good friend of mine.
Mike Amos, have y'all been able to bring him in yet?
The phone hasn't rang yet.
He's probably changing some diapers or something with those little ones.
Yeah, he's taking care of the kids.
Hey, I looked on Rivals.com this morning, and the top 4 teams: LSU's 1, Clemson's 2, Ohio State's 3, Alabama's 4 in recruiting, followed by A&M, Georgia, Oregon, Texas is 8, Michigan's 9, Auburn's 10, Florida's 11, Tennessee's 18, South Carolina's 19, Mississippi State's 21, Ole Miss 22, Kentucky's 24, Missouri 36, Vandy 62, Arkansas 95. That was Rivals.com this morning.
There he goes.
Right
Here comes
now.
Mike Hole. Let's see.
Are you talking about?
Yeah, let's see if
recruiting.
we lose you. Call back. All right, let's see.
That was recruiting.
Let's see. I think I put it right here.
The rich get richer.
Y'all both here?
Great job. Great job.
Michael, you here?
Yeah,
Oh, we got them both.
Good morning.
That's 2 for 2, everybody.
The Guru's own Mike and Jim Jackson from his hospital bed beat this past week, Mike. He was 27-5.
Michael, you got to verify that for me now because they're all making fun of me. And I told them, I said, look, I took a picture and I texted it to Michael Friday afternoon. They weren't believing me.
That means I gotta really do well this week if I'm gonna catch this sucker.
I was amazed watching NFL football last night. I'd heard about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, but man, that was unbelievable to watch a pro team with the speed and the players they have. I mean, I don't see anybody beating them. Did y'all watch that last night?
I've seen him twice now, and it's almost like he's on a different level.
It's like watching a video game.
Yeah.
45 to 6.
45 to 6.
5 to 6. Man, oh man.
And he didn't play the last 10, 12 minutes, something like that.
I was asleep.
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. Of course, Troy basketball has hit an all-time low. They went to A&M as a 14-point favorite against Alabama A&M last night and got beat by 14. So Coach Cross is 1-6 to start his career, and man, he's got to be scratching his head to lose at Alabama A&M when you almost beat Texas A&M a week earlier.
Yes.
It's hard to believe.
Well, it sounds like everybody's searching for that word Coach Saban uses all the time: consistency.
Thank goodness there's a second season. Thank goodness. We'd be really in trouble, wouldn't we?
Thank goodness they play shorter on Saturday. I think they're like a Division III school.
Yeah, they coming off the football season, Troy is in dire need of some basketball success.
Well, that's
it's one of those things where App State's a 12-point favorite against Troy, and they're ranked. And all they've done is go on the road and beat North Carolina at North Carolina and then South Carolina at South Carolina. I am shocked. I thought that line would be in the 20s.
Yeah, the scary thing there is the last week, Lafayette? Mm-hmm. Was a 13-point favorite. So the lines are eerily similar.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. Y'all going to laugh at me, Mike. Troy matches up a lot better with the Appalachians than they do with Louisiana Lafayette. Hopefully, Appalachian won't be quite as balanced. That team that Troy played was good on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe they want to, not get guys hurt because they're playing for the championship the next week. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Lafayette got beat by Appalachian State at home, but now they're going to play the conference championship game. I would think it would be at Appalachian State since they won the game.
Well, Michael, now I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. Troy is going to win the football game Friday. They're going to win the football game. Just like they beat Georgia Southern, they're going to beat App State.
Well, if you're leaving the beach to go home and watch it, I hope they do.
That's a Friday game, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a Friday game, yeah.
Is it a day game or a night game?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock game.
5 o'clock. The students aren't going to be there, so we hope everybody goes out and supports the Trojans against the number 21 team in the country.
Wow.
App State.
So they've gone to 21 now. That's the highest I can remember a conference team going that far.
Well, they were number 21 in one poll. I don't, that we got about 3 polls.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the great way to win the season. It's like Auburn. You forget all the turmoil Auburn's had, and the quarterback transferring and people hollering for Malzahn's job. If they beat Alabama Saturday, all is well.
Everybody and their brother will be wearing a Auburn Alabama T-shirt where Auburn won the game. You'll see it all over the place.
Yeah.
And that very well could happen.
Surely that's not going to happen. Is it, Jim? Tell us.
I said it very well could happen. I think it's just a coin flip game.
I do too. Well, we agree. Let's flip the coin.
When is the last time, and that really too, when is the last time you've ever thought Auburn could win the game like that? The points and everything like that. It's just
probably 2 years ago.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, probably 2 years ago. It was.
They had a good team. Yeah.
It was close to the same scenario, except then they were both top 10 teams. And kind of like this year, Alabama was just decimated on the defensive side of the ball with injuries. Michael, I don't know. You missed that earlier. Everybody talked about 17. Alabama had, 35 missed starts, I think it was, during the season due to injuries.
On defense alone.
On defense. Yeah. Going into last weekend, they had already had 47 missed starts this year.
By people that would have started.
Think about that now. With 2 games left to go in the season, they already had 47 missed starts.
It was like on defense last week. It was like Western Carolina was playing Alabama's freshman team.
Oh, pretty much. They only dressed 7 scholarship defensive linemen.
And then 2 of those guys have been on the scout team all year.
Yep.
You know, I think when it comes down to it, Alabama's biggest regret is the scheduling at the start of the season. For some crazy reason, they had Duke on the schedule in Atlanta. If they had played anybody that was even ranked in the top 25, their resume would look so much better. But Duke ended up having an awful season. And then, you know, look at the teams they beat. Ole Miss doesn't have a winning record. Mississippi State doesn't have a winning record. I think, you know, Tennessee finally has a winning record. A&M was, I guess, a ranked team when Alabama beat them, but that's it. That's the only ranked team they beat.
A&M should be ranked right now, in my opinion.
They're going to wind up with 5 losses after this week, so they probably won't be. But for the last 10 years, you've always been able to say the West Division of the SEC is without question the toughest division in college football. Always has been. This year, they're so top-heavy.
I got the weather report for Saturday in No, it's not Tuscaloosa. I got to go back to Auburn. I'm sorry. Y'all keep going.
Hey, we're gonna.
It should be close to the
Steve, are
same.
you up there? Steve is cooking turkeys. So he can get back to cooking turkeys. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Ford Truck Month is going on now at Bill Jackson Ford, and folks, we have the deal for you. Take up to $6,000 off MSRP and get 0% APR for 72 months for huge savings on a new 2019 Ford F-150. Select new 2019 Ford Mustang starting at an incredibly low $23,900. Or drive home a select new 2019 Ford Escape starting at just $18,900. Bill Jackson is the name you've trusted for over 30 years. Check us out on Highway 231 in Troy or online at BillJacksonFord.com.
I've been working for this my whole life. The chance to relax on the open water. With my financial institution, Max, my Achieve checking account earns dividends. So I'm free to do what I love.
Local butchers are on site at both stores and will help you select the best cuts of meat and trim them to your liking. Our USDA Choice beef is the most consistently tender, juicy, and flavorful beef you can buy, all at cost plus 10%.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you were out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Would you let that up here?
Okay.
Now we're back.
Okay.
All right, we're here.
Back to our Joe.
Vanderbilt at Tennessee.
Welcome back. We're prepping for our picks, and these are important picks because we only have maybe this week and next week left. Jim Jackson won last week by 1 game over yours truly.
I wanted to go back and look and see if I was the only one that picked. I did not pick Chambers. I picked the other team. Because Southern.
Right there. Everybody picked Chambers. You're exactly right.
Well, I was looking at it and I thought if Southern beat CCA like they did, they got to be a pretty good football team.
Well, you did.
That was a close
that
one.
we also talked about was Southern Academy in Greensboro, Alabama, was the first place Larry Blakeney ever coached out of college. That's where he coached.
And then, of course, Brantley, I'm sure y'all have already talked about that, but Brantley lost a heartbreaker.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, it's Thanksgiving, and everybody's getting excited. And of course, we got a big Christmas parade coming up live for you on Monday, always the first Monday in December. That's going to be a big time, right? You'll love bringing your children up to see that.
Oh, yeah, and then that Christmas parade has grown tremendously since it started, hasn't it? You know, I've been away from Troy for 12 years. I understand it's a really big deal.
Well, what it is, that all the city utilities, all the city departments compete against each other with floats, and it's really pretty. It really is. And, of course, the Troy band is in there, and the high school band's in there. It'll be a lot of fun.
I've actually got a couple of guys that are they're doing a float at the Ford store.
Good.
Had a package come in yesterday that was on my desk, and opened it up, and it was an elf costume. And I'm like, what in the world is this for? And my wife said, Antonio and Colby and 2 or 3 of them up front are doing a float for the parade. So I guess I'm going to have somebody dressed like an elf.
You know, the kids and adults love that movie, The Elf.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I know this, Jim, you do a great job allowing so many people to use your cars and trucks. And I always, you don't know if they don't wash them now. They ought to at least wash them, don't they?
Well, we try to have them clean when they, when they pick them up.
That's right.
A lot of that depends on the weather.
All right, y'all, let's get going.
I'm ready.
Mike, you want to call out the games? Start off with the high school games?
Yeah, you do it, buddy.
All right. It's Central of Clay County at who?
Mortimer.
They're at Mortimer, Jordan.
Give us a scouting report, Jim.
This actually gives Central, I think, a chance to avenge one of their 2 losses. I think they've already lost to Mortimer once this year.
Well, tell everybody where you grew up.
I played there. We were talking about it earlier. Still Danny Horn, Mike. Still coaching there. And it doesn't matter where he's been. He's been an outstanding coach at every stop. He won, I don't know if it's still a state record or not, but he won 55 straight games at Central, at Clay County High School, before they combined with Lineville, before it was Central of Clay County. He won 55 straight games.
They went the quarterback on one of those teams, weren't you?
Yeah, no. Danny was only 4 years older than me. I played with Danny. I would have been a freshman Danny's senior year. But that run was in the mid-'90s. That was the run that had Vernon Marable that came to Troy, Stanford Simmons that went to Auburn, Lance Weems that went to Auburn and played basketball, and I guess still holds the 3-point record there during the conference game.
He was a good football player, too?
He was the quarterback. Yeah. And all these kids, there was another guy, Ray John Miles, went to UT Chattanooga, and then a guy named Adam Brazil walked on at Alabama. So there were 5 kids off that little 2A football team that played college ball. So that'd be like 5 college kids at Brundage at one time. And
yeah, we went out there to Tulsa and played them in the playoffs about 7 years ago. And their facilities are incredible.
Yeah, they were new at that time.
I saw Lance Weems play high school basketball. He played Goshen in the state playoffs in Birmingham. And he lived up to the hype.
Maybe one of the best pure shooters I've seen
that year.
But during that run, they went 1 year. They went 14-1. They lost the first game to Heflin, which was 2 classifications bigger. They lost the first game to Heflin, 7-0, and then during the next 14 games, they gave up 10 points. They gave up 17 points in 15 games. And the 7 they gave up against Heflin was a ball that was snapped over the punter's head that Heflin recovered in the end zone.
Amazing, that is.
I'm gonna take Central of Clay.
Yeah, I like Central. That's avenge the loss.
Okay, I got to catch up with Jim somewhere, so I got to go against him. But Mortimer at home, and Jim just already told us that Mortimer won.
Mortimer's already beat him once.
Yeah, so I'm going with Mortimer.
I just get in trouble if I don't take my team.
I'm going with Central.
Okay,
Central.
Michael.
Mortimer Jordan is actually North Jefferson County. It's a really beautiful school out in the middle of nowhere. I'll take Jim's hometown school.
Okay, I'm writing yours down for you, Michael. Are you writing yours down, Mike Amos?
Oh yeah, I'm writing mine down. Mike, are you writing yours?
I'll get Michael's.
I'll be honest, I've never written mine down.
All right, I got you at Central.
So a lot of times I probably get cheated.
And I said, what do you think the odds are that they've been right for the last 5, 6, 7 years, Michael?
Not very good. Write them down.
The next game is Andy.
You know, honestly, I probably won some. I probably shouldn't have won that.
Hey, it works both ways.
The next game is Andy Murphy at UMS Wright. No, wait, that's Andalusia.
Andalusia.
Not Andy Murphy. Not Andy Blair.
UMS Wright's #1 team in the state.
Yeah, I'm gonna take UMS Wright playing at home. They're undefeated.
What about you, Michael?
Terry
Curtis has won over 300 games. I mean, he's a great coach, UMS Wright. I'll take UMS Wright.
UMS for me.
Nobody's going with Andy Murphy. Sorry, Andy. Okay. Andy, old friend. Central versus Thompson.
Let me say
That's next Wednesday.
Dominoes, Andy Murphy, I promise you.
Oh, yeah. If we're playing dominoes, I definitely want Andy.
Now, listen, do we want to go ahead and pick this game, Central versus Thompson, since it's next week, Mike, or you want to?
Yeah, because it's on a Wednesday.
Right, yeah.
And we'll be back to our normal Thursday schedule next week.
Okay. This is for the state championship in 7A football. Central of Phoenix City, which has become awesome in the last couple of years, versus Thompson. That's Tuluia's old school. I guess they didn't miss Tuluia too much this year.
Well, they will this week.
Yeah, I'm going with Central of Phoenix City until somebody beats them.
That's who I'm taking. I'm taking Central. I'm going to go ahead and check Central.
I got Central.
Charles Henderson's claim to fame as the head coach at Central was the head coach at Charles Henderson for about a month.
Yeah, the greatest spring football coach ever, Jamie DeVos.
That's right.
We actually had him on the show a couple times so we could pull the tape and actually show him as Charles Henderson coach.
Who else did they lose to?
I'll take Central.
Oh, Central, yeah. Okay.
All right.
Nobody's taking Thompson.
Nobody's taking Thompson.
No, after watching it last year.
Auburn. They're going to play that game at Auburn.
Yeah, all the games are in Auburn this year because they were actually scheduled to be in Tuscaloosa, but, Tuscaloosa fenced in their stadium on Sunday and started their demo for their remodel, so they're moving them all to Auburn this year.
I'd say it's going to be a rush to do that renovation and have it ready by September 17th next year.
First game at home.
It's the first phase of 2 or 3 phases of stuff they're going to do to Brighton, Denny.
The first game is going to be in Jerry World, though, isn't it, against USC?
Yeah, but the second game is, I looked at the schedule, the second game may be Kent State or somebody like that. But then in week 3 next year, Georgia comes to town.
Well, Saban's given Kent State at least $5 million since he's been the head coach. They played him at least 4 or 5 times.
Correct. Michael, you were talking earlier about Duke and how that Duke game has hurt Alabama. Alabama doesn't have any control over that. That is an SEC, ACC agreement in the Georgia Dome. And the conferences, of course, Alabama kind of initiated all that, so they've played in a majority of them. But the ACC gets to pick the team that they send. It's not like Alabama can say, hey, you send Clemson, or hey, you send Florida State. Sometime in the next 2 or 3 years, they open with Miami and Orlando. Now, is Miami going to be any good, or are they going to be terrible again? Who knows?
Well, Duke's usually an 8-win team. That's what's kind of surprising.
Well, 3 years ago when they picked Duke to be in this game, they were actually a 10-win team and played in the New Year's Six Bowl.
But, also everybody take a minute and look at Utah's schedule. Everybody's saying that Alabama loses the resume test. Just take a minute and look and see who the Utah has played this
I looked
year.
last night. When you look at strength of schedule, I can't remember. I think Oklahoma is 59th. Alabama is 61st. Utah is 87th.
I heard that Alabama was
In
better
strength
than
of
that.
schedule.
Yeah.
Utah is dead last.
Utah played Northern Illinois. We talked about it yesterday for us. Go ahead and give them to us.
The schedule next year is Alabama versus Southern Cal, Georgia State, Georgia, Kent State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Mississippi State, at Tennessee, at LSU, Tennessee Martin, Texas A&M, then Auburn back-to-back.
And that's another thing
that's
that
tough.
that nobody's talked about since they redid this schedule, and I guess a lot of it was to move Georgia up earlier in the year for Auburn. Mm-hmm. Next year, Alabama's lucky enough to get Texas A&M the week before the Auburn game. You know who Auburn's lucky enough to get the week before the Alabama game?
Probably LSU.
LSU.
I'll tell you this about Alabama is going to, whoever they play, it's going to be a challenge because Alabama is going to lose more players than they have ever lost. I think this is going to be the first legitimate rebuilding year that Coach Saban has had. So that's another reason Alabama making the playoffs this year is particularly important because the odds Alabama can do it next year. I mean, it's not just the seniors; it's all these underclassmen that are getting ready to declare for the NFL, and this all of your key players. So next year
they're going to lose a running back. I think they'll lose.
They're going to lose 3 wide receivers.
See, I don't think they'll lose but 2 of them.
You think Smith's going to come back?
No, I think Ruggs may come back.
Wow, I'd be shocked. He ran a 4.25.
All right, let's go with Leroy at Reeltown.
All right, who you like?
Oh, man, this is going to be a tough one. Reeltown's playing at Reeltown, and boy, they won a big one this weekend. I'm taking Reeltown to win that game.
Yeah, Leroy at Reeltown. going to take the home team. I'll take Reeltown.
I'm going with bad Leroy Brown. I'm going to Leroy.
Leroy's a good program.
I'll take Charles from Reeltown.
Charles from Reeltown. Some people may not know who Charles is, Michael.
He's one of the infamous callers on.
Michael, you be nice. That's Jim's uncle.
No, he's my cousin.
Jim's uncle.
He's my cousin.
Okay, we got.
Who do you like? You took Reeltown.
I'm going with the home team if I don't know anything about these teams. Opelika at South Fork, is that who it is?
Spanish Fort.
Spanish Fort.
You can't read it
All
all
right.
right.
11-1. Spanish Fort is 8-4.
Correct.
And the Spanish Fort is always good. They're from down in Mobile.
They play in a tough area.
They're coached by Ben Blackman, who played quarterback at Troy, and his brother Brian Blackman's the assistant coach at Troy.
They're originally from Opelika.
Our cousin Brent Betzold's on the staff at Spanish Fort, so I'll take Spanish Fort.
All right, Michael.
It's going to be. I feel like it's 11-1.
Yeah, Spanish Fort's 8-4, but Spanish Fort probably plays a little tougher schedule than Opelika does.
They moved their star receiver, who'd signed with Ole Miss, to quarterback. They've won every game since.
That seems to be a smart move for any coach to do. Opelika, Michael.
Goes for Opelika.
Okay.
I'm going for Spanish Fort.
All right.
I'm going to take Opelika.
Espanol.
All right, Jim took Opelika.
I used to live in Opelika for my Opie Taylor days, 2nd grade through 6th grade, and went to a lot of Opelika high school games.
Spence McCracken.
Hooray for Bulldogs! Hooray for Bulldogs! Someone in the crowd yelled,
Okay.
Opelika. Look at Mike cutting me off from doing my cheer.
I think I'd rather listen to you sing than I had Mike.
He sings all the time, and I can't do it. Okay.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, T.R. Miller at Mobile Christian.
I'll take T.R. Miller. They're on a roll now. They're 9-4. They were 7-4 after the regular season, and they won every game since. I'm taking them to upset Mobile Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to take Ronnie Cottrell and Mobile Christian. I think they're going to win the state championship this year.
Oh, I forgot that Ronnie Cottrell was.
Is that where he's coaching now?
Yeah, he's been there for about 4 or 5 years.
I did not know that.
Of course, he's a friend of yours, I know.
I have met him a few times.
He's former Troy State graduate assistant.
Yeah.
I am going with T.R. Miller since they beat
T.R.
Pike County
Miller.
High School. That is all I need to know.
TR.
I'm going to take Mobile Christian.
All right, so we have a little difference on that game.
Mobile Christian recruits anybody they want.
Correct. They got to be a private school with Christian at the end.
That's right. That's right.
Michael, who you going with? Who'd you say, Michael?
I said Mobile Christian, Ronnie Cottrell.
Okay, I've got to remember to circle yours. All right, we move on to the last high school game on our slate, and it's Lynette, which has a star player that's committed to Alabama, and at Sweetwater.
Is he the kid that just broke all of
Some records.
Bo Nix's records?
Yeah.
Touchdowns accounted for, I think.
You know, it seems like forever and a day, records stood for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and now every year somebody's breaking a record that was set the year before. Just a changing game.
Lynette is the more college quarterbacks came out of Lynette than any other place. Malin Kent was another great one that came out of there.
I'll tell you one that's from everybody remembers from Troy, Bobby Lee.
That's right. You're exactly right, my friend. Boy, how could you not go with Lynette here? They're 12-0. I'm going to take Lynette.
I'll take Lynette.
Yeah, I'm going to take Lynette.
Lynette
All right, we have consensus.
on the Georgia line.
Lynette, that's right. They're on the Eastern Time Zone. I remember one time we went to a game in Lynette and we missed the start of the time because we didn't know the time had changed. All right,
Right. I want to tell you this. Sweetwater is 11-1, and the only team to beat them was Pike County. And, of course, they've got the Michigan helmets, Mike, that I like.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon unfortunately lost a heartbreaker to him.
38-35. That was a tough one for Brandon. You know how they lost it, y'all? They on an onside. Well, it was a scub, one of those scub kicks. What do you call them?
Smoke kicks.
And with y'all, and they went down and recovered it and kicked the field goal to beat them.
That's right.
Heartbreaker of all heartbreakers.
They won both beat Brantley.
I say Brantley's real young. They'll be back.
That's a tough way to lose.
Yeah, I talked to Roland yesterday, head coach at Brantley, and he was really proud of his team. He said he said all the breaks, he didn't say anything about the officiating. He said all the breaks that happened during the game all went against them. He said they kept overcoming it, and right at the end we're back in it, and he said it just wasn't their night.
Oh, God.
That was a great way to do it, Roland. And Bo Weekly liable to have been at the game.
Hey, if he's not playing somewhere, he may have been.
It's called the, remember this, Mike Amos? The thrill of victory, the agony of
defeat.
Exactly right. Okay, y'all go ahead. Move on.
Segue into the college games. There's this team called LSU that's having
Wait a minute. Don't we have one more high school game? Don't we have Oxford against Pinson Valley?
Nope.
I didn't do it, Mike. I didn't do it, but I didn't do that game.
Okay.
We can put it in there if we want to.
Well, we got enough high school games. These are all out of our area anyway.
But I like Oxford in that game, but we're not picking them, so.
Yeah, that's Bo Nix's dad. Patrick Nix is the head coach at Pinson Valley. Of course,
Right.
They won the state championship last year, so.
At Oxford.
What he goes through. You know, he's got to coach a football team in the high school, and then his boys playing for all the marbles on Saturday.
I know. He's doing a pretty good job of coaching, apparently.
Yeah, so he'll have to coach Friday night. He'll have to be in Montgomery at 10:30 Saturday morning if they win for the coaches meeting, and then he will leave. And I would assume that in this instance they would probably excuse him and let him send an assistant coach or something. But if he does go, then I guess he would just go straight from there to Auburn.
Yeah, that's where Auburn's.
Exactly right.
Auburn will be staying at the Renaissance Hotel.
Is the Alabama-Auburn game a 2:30 game?
2:30 CBS.
All right, we got the Hold That Tiger versus the Aggies in the 12th man. I was impressed by Texas A&M last week. You know, I said last week they should have been in the top 25.
Well, I am wrong. LSU is playing at home. I think that's.
Yeah, because they played the 7 overtime game at A&M last year.
Correct.
So that's in Baton Rouge. I think
And this game might be a little better than some people think.
It was my fault. I've got it written down on my end. But
Well, it's not going to affect how anybody picks it, though. We know who everybody's going to pick. I pick LSU.
Well, my wife's got a bowl of cereal. Y'all wouldn't believe it's got bananas everywhere. We're looking out over the Gulf. It's just beautiful this morning down here.
Keep rubbing it in.
Man, I just can't help it. Jim, I just can't help it.
Keep rubbing it in.
You know what I got my kids for the first time, last time I went to Piggly Wiggly? Some Fruity Pebbles. Little Jack was
Fruity
3 years
Pebbles.
old in the car.
My wife's laughing at you. Right? She knows exactly what those are because I've got some grandchildren. That's what they eat.
Your son, you see him growing up.
You know, if I have, even today, if I have a bowl of cereal, I still like Apple Jacks.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Apple Jacks are good.
I used to eat it out of the box when I'd get home from school.
Hey, listen, let's spread that all over Troy that Jim's a big Applejack.
Apples. Sing their little song.
I can't sing. I don't remember the song, but
They had a good jingle.
yeah, they did.
Apple Jacks, Apple Jacks.
Cinnamon toasted apple. That's right.
All right.
That's what sold me on it was the jingle.
See what you get when Mike Amos is in Florida, you get us singing commercial jingles.
For cereals.
That's right.
So that'll teach you the lead, Mike.
Hey, I like LSU in this game.
At night.
But I will say Texas A&M is the best 4-loss team in America, without a doubt.
Yeah, they've lost to Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, and who else? Clemson.
And they had a
Let me ask you this, Jim. Jim, let me ask you this.
All right.
If LSU lost or if Ohio State lost with just one loss, would they still be in the playoff picture? What do you think there?
I think they would still be one of the 4 best teams in the country, yes.
Especially if they lose to Georgia. If they lose the SEC championship game, they're still in.
They lose to Michigan.
It's Ohio State. That's a good question. I think Ohio State would have a strong case to being one of the best 4 if they lost to Michigan at Michigan, which would be a lot like Alabama losing at Auburn. You know, that's a big rivalry game. Only loss of the year. I think Ohio State would still be in, even if they lost. If they went on and won the.
And the upper echelon of the SEC is still unbelievably tough. If you think about it, Auburn's losses. Currently, number 1 LSU. At one time, number 1 Georgia.
Right.
Not when they played them. And then Florida, who is back up to 8th or 9th.
Right.
Now you look at Florida, 2 losses. Number 1 LSU, and a team that has been number 1 in Georgia. You look at Texas A&M's losses. Number 1 Clemson. Georgia, who was at one time number 1. Alabama, who was at one time number 1. And Auburn, who was as high as 5th or 6th, I guess.
You know,
Then they
So,
everybody
got
talk,
LSU.
now they've got number
Now
1
they got
LSU.
now they got LSU.
everybody says the big debate is, can the SEC have 2 teams? I looked at it one time and I said, heck, the SEC could have 3 teams if things had worked out. Say that Florida's only loss was to LSU. They beat Georgia. They go to the SEC championship. They beat LSU, who's undefeated. LSU had beat Alabama, which that was their only loss. In that case, you would have had Florida, LSU, and Alabama all with 1 loss.
But you still had to have some help because you're going to have an undefeated Ohio State and an undefeated Clemson.
So, don't
They do now, yes.
But I think it's not out unrealistic that the SEC could produce 3 of the teams. I could see a scenario where they could have all 4. You could say the best 4 teams in the country are all from the SEC.
Yeah, what?
Move on, and we'll get those games.
Yeah, what brought this up is if LSU, I mean, I think everybody's going to take LSU, but if A&M loses this week, they wind up the regular season with 5 losses. 4 of those losses to the number 1 team in the country, and the other one to somebody that was in the top 6.
Amazing.
That is amazing. That is amazing, Jim.
All right, that's one of.
I'm thinking that you.
All right, this is. We got to spend some time talking about this.
This is a big game.
Mike Amos, what do you think about Ohio State going to Michigan? Does Coach Khaki Pants have a chance to finally win this game?
Win the football game. There's no question in my mind Michigan's going to win. Then what do you do with Ohio State then?
Okay.
I like Ohio State. I don't think Michigan's good enough to beat them.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's got
State.
too much firepower.
I've been talking up.
He needs to go find him another conference.
I've been talking up Michigan.
That right? Go ahead.
I've been talking up Michigan all year, and they've been playing really good ball. They've got momentum. They're at home. You know, they want to beat Ohio State like LSU wanted to beat Alabama. 114,000 they'll be there.
We'll be there at the big house. This is no question for me. Michigan's going to win the football game.
Well, the best thing about it is it's 11 a.m. and then you can watch the Iron Bowl at 2:30. So that's a great.
Boy,
football right there.
golly, those guys, Eastern time, that'd be Eastern time. That'll be 12, won't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Jim, who do you like here?
I like Ohio State.
All right, Forrest, you,
Buckeyes.
who do you like?
The Buckeyes.
But Mike
Ohio
Amos,
State's an 8.5-point favorite. I would expect that line will probably go up a little bit more.
Is that all it is? Wow.
Rice, who do you like?
I'm with you, Mike. I've been talking up Michigan for several weeks now,
And they are playing better.
how many times in a row has Michigan lost to Ohio State?
I think they've lost 10 out of the last 11.
Well, LSU had lost to Alabama 8 years in a row, and they finally ended that streak. I think it's time for Michigan to end that streak.
And we got 2 football games tonight.
I'll tell you this. I visited Ohio State about 4 or 5 years ago. There's a clock at Ohio State that has the exact hour and second of when they play Michigan. That's year-round. That clock is counting down the time. So it's a huge game for both of them.
I'll say this, Ohio State has been awfully impressive this year, and that defensive lineman everybody brags about is awesome.
Yeah, he's back playing. He's big redhead.
Redhead with dreads.
And South Carolina, right?
All right, Clemson, Mike called it out for us. It's Clemson at South Carolina. Boy, wouldn't that be a stunner if South Carolina beat Clemson, but I don't think it's happening.
I think a more likely scenario is that Clemson's South Carolina's going to be hunting a head coach about this time next week.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's going to go 4-8 and beat Georgia. How in the world does that happen?
And I don't know.
Don't you know that makes Georgia sick?
Turnovers, 3 interceptions.
That's what does
I'll
it.
take Clemson. I don't know if they'll cover the 27. That's a big line at South Carolina.
They are playing at South Carolina, but I don't know if it matters.
Hear that horrible rooster throughout.
Yeah, I don't think it'll matter.
I pick the eventual national champion, unless Alabama's not in it. Clemson's going to win it all.
You think so?
Yes.
Now, let me throw out something for the audience. Y'all ready? Alabama loses to Auburn. Half the team doesn't even play in the bowl game. There's no interest in the bowl game anyway, so Alabama loses the bowl game. Alabama has these terrible losses next year, and it's going to be an uphill battle. Nick Saban says, "The heck with it, I'm retiring." Boy, wouldn't that be some news?
Not so fast,
Then-
my friend.
Then if Nick Saban retires,
I don't think Nick Saban would go out on a losing note or a bad taste in his mouth.
I'm just saying it could happen. I'm not saying it will happen.
could.
But then, would Alabama not come as hard as they could for Mr. Dabo Swinney at Clemson? So,
They don't have $20 million a year.
He'd be crazy to leave Clemson and go to all the pressure at
I was
Alabama.
going to say, if you look at what they've done this year, who they play every week, why in the world
when you go into the SEC and that challenge.
do you want that? Yeah.
I know as an Alabama fan, I would love to get Dabo, though, if you could.
Well,
That would be my first call.
The success at Clemson is his staff is cohesive and they don't leave.
But you know why, don't you? And I don't know if you were here the day we were talking about that or not. There have been a couple of accusations, never gone to prison or anything, but there have been a couple of accusations of domestic violence against his defensive coordinator.
Oh.
And that has scared a lot of people away. That's why you don't see a lot of teams go and talk to Brent Venables every year. Because if they do, that's going to come back to the forefront and be the number one topic. So I think that's why he's
Everybody remembers what happened to
stayed
Urban
at
Meyer
Clemson.
with his assistant coach.
That's exactly right. I think that's why everybody's kind of shied away from Brent Venables, and he's happy where he's at. Dabo's paying him good money. He's paying him mid-tier head coaching money. But you think about it, with the success they've had the last 4 or 5 years, why does everybody not go after Venables? That's the reason.
Well, that's good.
Because that becomes front and center if they try.
You got that on a good source?
Yeah, that's a fact. That's you can go back several years and research it and read some of the articles.
All
All
right.
right.
All right, we got an old-time rivalry, Georgia versus Georgia Tech in Atlanta, right?
In Atlanta, and Georgia Tech much improved.
What are you talking about? They won 2 games.
No, they won last week. They've won 3 now, haven't they?
They won 3 games.
They beat a bad North Carolina State team last week.
They're still improved, though.
Yeah.
They were looking like they weren't going to win any games for a while.
I'll take Georgia.
But it'll be closer than you think.
I'd say somewhere around 30.
28.
I don't know how close you think, but I think somewhere around 30.
I think the line is 28 and a half. Something like that.
Jake Fromm needs to play better at quarterback. I know that. I mean, the guy's throwing for like 150 yards a game.
Less than 50% completion percentage last 3 games.
Y'all think he's going to come out for the NFL this year or stay another year?
Nah, he needs another year.
He's just gone 3 games with less than a 50% completion percentage. I don't think there's any way he comes out.
So Alabama's playing against Jake Fromm next year.
I would think.
Probably.
All right. All right, we all got Georgia. Now we got Oregon State versus Oregon. That was Kirk Herbstreit's big playoff contender a week ago. So for what that's
Well,
worth.
that made everything a lot easier, didn't it?
Boy, it'll be interesting to see what the talking heads, what their talking points are tonight. I'm going to guess. I mean, they can't move to Oklahoma and push their narrative because Oklahoma's just had way too many close games.
And a terrible loss.
Almost gets beat by TCU last week, and they've got a bad loss. So I guess they got to put all their marbles in Utah now.
They will too, buddy. They will.
With the 87th ranked strength of schedule in the country.
A team that lost to
What
USC.
game is Oregon State? Is this a Friday game?
I don't know. Let me check that.
There's a lot of games on Friday.
I'm thinking it's Saturday, Mike.
Is it? Okay.
Well, that's a big rival game. And Oregon State's gotten a lot better now. I'm telling you, a lot better.
Okay.
Yeah, they're close to being bowl eligible.
I'll take Oregon, though.
That's what winners
I
are
got
made
Oregon.
of.
I got the Ducks.
Yeah, I like
Buckaroo.
Oregon.
What Alabama needs, since the whole cosmos are aligned against Alabama, is Alabama needs Oregon to beat Utah in the championship game. Apparently, it shouldn't have to be that way, but apparently it does. All right, let's move on to Colorado at Utah. Speaking of Utah, now Utah does have an impressive team, especially on defense. They're playing at home against Colorado. Utah is a 28-point favorite, I believe.
But they haven't played anybody.
That's right.
I wish we could go ahead and get them off the board, but I'm afraid they're going to stay on. I'm going to take Utah.
Okay.
I got Utah.
Yeah, I like Utah in this game. Colorado's not very good either.
Colorado did win last week, though, and their coach is
They've been being over the years.
Yeah.
their coach
They
used
played
to
in
be at Alabama.
the Pac-12 championship game, I think, in Santa Clara, California, where the 49ers play.
Golfer played golf played football in Colorado. You know what great golfer that was?
Yeah, it was Hale Irwin.
Hale Irwin.
He was a defensive back at Colorado.
Hey, the big games tomorrow, the big games Friday are Virginia Tech, Virginia, Texas Tech, Texas, Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, Arkansas, Boise, Colorado State, Cincinnati, Memphis, Washington State, Washington,
Got it right in.
West Virginia, TCU.
Texas State. Where they play that game?
Those are the big
Hey,
games
we're
on
losing you,
Friday.
Mike. Or we can't hear you very well.
Yeah, he's just a little quiet.
He was talking about a ride-in game. What game you want to ride in? Dad,
You there, Mike?
he fell off the balcony.
I hope he landed in the pool.
You there, Mike Amos?
We don't have Mississippi and Ole Miss either.
Last we heard, he was eating that cereal with the bananas in it.
He might have slipped on the peel.
There he is.
Texas State. I mean,
No, they're not playing. Texas is playing Texas Tech. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, we're talking about Lubbock, Mike.
Texas Tech versus Texas.
Where are they playing?
I don't know. That's what I was asking. Texas is playing Texas Tech, and I don't know exactly where.
That's on Friday.
It's on Friday.
You know, Oklahoma and LSU hyping that big win over Texas. The win over Texas wasn't too impressive, as it turns out.
Y'all hear me okay? Y'all
Mike,
we can.
Whatever you're doing, keep doing that.
They're playing at Texas Tech. Texas at Texas Tech.
I'm going to take Texas.
Yeah, I like Texas. Let's go back and
I like Texas Tech.
just for a second, we were just talking about Utah. So let's go through their season.
So,
Yeah.
They opened with Northern Illinois and won. Northern Illinois is 4-7.
All right.
Then they played Idaho State and won. Idaho State's 3-9. Then they played an 8-4 USC team and lost. That's the only team that's got, well, there's a couple other teams with winning records, but that's the only team they played that's more than one game above 500.
Okay.
Then they beat a 4-5 Washington State, a 5-6 Oregon State, a 6-5 Arizona State, which now, since Arizona State beat Oregon, looks like a decent win, a 5-4 Cal, a 6-5 Washington, a 4-7 UCLA, a 4-7 Arizona, and now they play a 5-6 Colorado.
I've been saying on message.
They shouldn't even be considered. They got four teams on their schedule with winning records, and three of those may not wind up with a winning record because they're only one game above 500.
Their best win is over 6-5 Washington.
Correct.
So there you go. And then they lost to 4-loss USC. So their schedule, Alabama's
You
schedule.
know when they lost to USC that night? They lost to USC's
Third string quarterback.
I watched the game.
boy, oh boy, you're right. That's got it.
They're terrible.
But they're the team that everybody says is
But
better than Alabama.
that's who everybody's got to talk
My
about
point,
now.
if Alabama was playing Utah at a neutral field this week, Alabama would be a 7-point favorite.
I think it'd be double digits.
If Alabama beats Auburn and makes a message, if they were to play Utah at a neutral field, Alabama would be a 14-point favorite. And that's the team they're going to pick over Alabama. I don't get it.
The next game is the biggest game of them all. Oklahoma, if they win on out, how in the world can you keep Oklahoma out of a top 4 finish?
Oh,
They lost to Kansas State.
there you go.
They lost to Kansas State, who's not terrible. They're not terrible.
They got 5 losses, Mike.
They're 7-4.
Look them up.
Kansas State will finish the season 8-4.
It goes back to everybody wanting hurt. It becomes political, it seems like.
Yeah, but they're struggling every week to beat teams that are under 500.
Yeah. I mean, don't you think Baylor could beat them again?
Oklahoma State.
Well, they're going to get to play Baylor again.
I think Baylor will probably beat them the second time.
There's a good chance.
I'll pick Oklahoma.
Yeah. Now, Oklahoma State's pretty good, too. I was thinking that Oklahoma couldn't fall here, but if they win, look out.
Didn't you say Oklahoma State's quarterback got hurt against West Virginia?
No, but wait before.
Wait a minute, so is the starter going to be there against Oklahoma?
I don't think so.
Oklahoma's a 13-point favorite, and Oklahoma State is 8-3.
Yeah,
I'm going to call the upset. I'm going to take Oklahoma State.
I called it too. That's what winners are made of. Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State. They got a great running back. Oklahoma's defense is the same old Oklahoma defense.
I've been hurt. Yes, I've been hurt. hurt.
Here's another good game, Wisconsin at Minnesota.
No, we got to go to Florida State at Florida first.
To go back to that Oklahoma State quarterback, he underwent surgery to repair his thumb and will not return to the regular season.
Well, I did not know that.
That's the Oklahoma State
Good information there.
quarterback.
No question about it.
And I apologize, I forgot Florida State was even still playing football.
Florida State.
Well, I think everybody's
Florida.
Going to a bowl game.
Huh?
Florida State is going to a bowl game.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they won 6 or 7 games. I think they won 7 games now.
No, can't be
They
7.
won 6. They're 6-5. I'll take Florida to beat Florida State.
Yeah, I like
And
Florida.
Florida.
All right, we all say
Yeah,
Florida.
I think Florida.
Now to your big. This is a really good one. Wisconsin at Minnesota. What do you think, Mike Amos?
Oh boy, Minnesota's playing well. I'm gonna take Minnesota. They're balanced. They're a balanced team. And they're playing at Minnesota. I'm gonna take Minnesota to win the game.
Okay. Michael Amos.
I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to take Wisconsin.
All right. That's,
Wisconsin.
This is to represent that side of the Big Ten in the championship game. Whoever wins this one.
I think the Badgers will beat Minnesota.
I'm going to
I
take
pick-
Wisconsin.
I pick Wisconsin.
I think so. You could have a rematch between Wisconsin and Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, or Minnesota. Oh, I guess Minnesota hasn't
Well,
played Ohio
this
State.
is by far the best week of college football. This is unreal. All these good games.
Oh, yeah.
I know it.
You got Ohio.
And Notre Dame is playing well, right?
Hey, Mike, I said.
Ohio against Akron tonight. Akron's 0-11. Will they get a victory tonight?
Right, we got to hear about you on Minnesota. Who do you like?
I like Wisconsin. Hey, Mike, I see another add-on I want you to consider, but you're the commissioner.
Okay, yeah, I want you to let me know it. Yeah.
What about Ole Miss and Mississippi State? The Egg Bowl.
We want it. Hey, you're right. We want it. Where are they playing the Egg Bowl?
Yeah, Mississippi State. And it's a 3-point spread. Mississippi State is favored by 3 points.
They got to have a win to be bowl
This is
eligible.
a league town match.
Yep. It's Ole Miss. Y'all write it on there. Ole Miss at Mississippi State.
That's rated above Vanderbilt.
You know what? I tell you something about this game. I like Ole Miss.
I do, too. I hate to agree with you, Mike, but I like Ole Miss. I think
got
they
Ole
can
Miss.
score a lot more than Mississippi State.
I like Ole Miss. I'm gonna take Ole Miss.
Michael, what do you like?
Y'all like?
I'm going to take Mississippi State at home because if they win, they go to a bowl.
Okay. That's what winners are made of. Okay.
Anybody else? Who they take?
I took Ole Miss.
I took Ole Miss, so everybody took Ole Miss except for
Everybody took
Michael.
Ole Miss. Okay.
No, Michael took Mississippi State. Good bet, Michael. Notre Dame at Stanford.
Notre Dame then.
Mike was bragging about how strong Notre Dame's played the last couple of weeks, and he's absolutely right. I think we all think
They're
Notre
pretty good right now.
And Stanford's not pretty good. I'm going with Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame's a 16-point favorite.
Notre Dame.
They're 9-2. Who you like, Jim?
I like Notre Dame.
Michael?
Okay,
I got
anybody
Notre
else?
Dame. I got
Notre Dame.
Everybody took Notre Dame. Yeah,
Notre
they're
Dame.
16-point favorite over Stanford.
All right, Rice, you got it.
All right, let's go over to have we picked your add-on Vandy at Tennessee? You said you wanted to
No,
mention.
we still got Cincinnati at Memphis. We got
Well,
Cincinnati at Memphis.
Oh, I wrote
We
it in.
wrote Vandy at Tennessee right above them. I like Tennessee in that game.
Me too.
Big.
Yeah, Tennessee's won 4 in a row. They're playing really great football right now.
You know, Tennessee wins this week. They wind up 7-5.
And that's going to be one of Alabama's better wins.
Taking Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Tennessee will have won 6 of their last 7 games of the season. Tennessee is one of the top 30 teams in the country right now, the way they're playing.
Hey, Jim, in the offseason, why don't we bring him into Banks and have a big party sponsored by Bill Jackson Chevrolet and Ford, and have a
The
big
Tennessee
party
coach?
for the Tennessee coach in Banks.
Oh, Jeremy Pruitt?
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun to bring Jeremy Pruitt back to town?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, Kenny Campbell's got a state park out in Banks. Maybe we can have it out there.
That's right. And call it Jeremy Pruitt Day. I'm proud of him. I feel like he's from Banks.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to host anybody in that puke orange.
You sound like my
As they
great
said,
father.
that throw-up orange.
I've heard it described a lot of different ways, Jim, but I like that.
That throw-up orange.
That's my dad hated
It's gonna be a
Tennessee.
great game. Both teams are 9-1, Cincinnati and Memphis.
Yeah, that will be a good game.
9-1.
Is this game on Friday? Cincinnati and Memphis is on Friday.
That's a great game, really.
2:30.
The
You're
kid,
right.
Memphis is a 11-point favorite.
They say it's a battle for a New Year's.
9-1 or 10-1, y'all.
It's a battle for a New Year's Day ball game too.
Check and see if they're 9-1 or 10-1, Mike.
Both teams are 10-1.
All right, both teams are 10-1. That is something right there. Cincinnati and Memphis. They're not very far from each other either.
And does the AAC have a conference championship game?
Yeah, they do.
All right, well, both these teams are number 1 in their division. Does that mean they're going to play again the next week?
yeah, I guess so.
You know, that is exactly right. What do they do here?
Yeah.
I'll take Memphis this week.
Yeah, I like Memphis this week, but I don't know if anybody else is let's see.
Why don't they just cancel the conference championship game? And
Cincinnati's loss was to Ohio State. They've beaten everybody else, so they haven't lost a division game, so they're definitely going to go.
Who beat Memphis?
That's what I'm looking up now. Memphis's loss was to Temple. Is Temple in the AAC?
Yeah, they are.
But they're 7-4, so let's see who their other losses were to. Temple's losses are to SMU. Are they in the AAC?
I think so. Yep.
UCF. Are they in the AAC?
Yep.
Cincinnati's. So they've already got 3 conference losses. So, yeah, these 2 teams are going to play 2 weeks in a row if they have a conference championship game.
Isn't that unbelievable? I'm going to take Memphis to win the game.
I wonder where the conference championship game will be.
I got Memphis.
Yeah, I think everybody likes Memphis.
Michael, you got Memphis too?
Yeah.
Well, Cincinnati's pretty good.
I guess Cincinnati doesn't miss Coach Tuberville. They've just got better and better. Maybe he got them pointed in the right direction. All right.
Isn't that something? Both those teams are 10-1. That is really, really something.
Yeah, it is. And then
That's called the American Conference. Is that right, Mike?
something like that.
Yeah, AAC, I think, is the American Athletic Conference.
That's correct.
Mike, are you in?
He said Memphis.
Hello, Mike.
I got Memphis.
Yeah, I got Memphis.
All right, okay, everybody got Memphis. All right, right.
All right, then we got the Midwest Farmers Daughters Bowl game, Iowa at Nebraska. Nebraska blew out Maryland last week, and Iowa is always good. Interesting game. Mike Amos, what do you think about it?
It's a Friday game, and you're right. This is going to be a tough one. You know, Nebraska needs a win here. Do they have to have a win to make it to the?
A win gets them bowl
So
eligible.
you give the 7.
A win gets them bowl eligible.
You know, I'm gonna pull the upset here. I'm gonna take Nebraska
Either
to beat
Memphis or
Iowa.
Navy.
Okay.
So Navy can still.
All right. I think Iowa's about a 5 or 6 point favorite, but Nebraska playing at home and has all kind of incentive to win. I could easily see Nebraska winning, but I'm fairly impressed by Iowa and their coach. I'm gonna go with Iowa.
And the win would put Nebraska 6-6. Mike, is that right? Michael Amos.
Michael, must-
Nebraska is 5-6, and Iowa's 8-3. So yes, a win would get Nebraska to 500.
I pick Iowa.
Okay, I know it. Okay, I got you.
all right.
If they get there, they'll get a bowl bid, I'm sure.
Michael must have had to have an emergency with the kids, so we'll come back to him on.
Right there, Barn. Here we go. We're moving.
All right, we got SMU, which is SMU, Southern Methodist University, at Tulane, which used to be an SEC member, if y'all can believe that.
Tulane is the home team here.
And Tulane's not bad, and SMU is very good this year, although they lost to Navy in a close one last week.
I guess there's some injuries because there's no line on this game.
Yeah. I'll take
I'm going to take SMU.
Tulane at home to win.
I'm going to take Richard McBride and SMU, the Troy native.
Hey, give me Nebraska.
Okay?
Okay, that's Mike Amos coming in here. SMU and Tulane, Mike. Who do you like?
Where's the game being played?
It's at Tulane. Tulane's 6-5. SMU's 9-2.
I took SMU against Navy last week and lost.
I'm sorry. This game is in Dallas, Texas, at Gerald Ford Stadium.
Yeah, I'll take SMU then at home.
This is one of those special games then. Okay.
Oh, I might change my pick. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well, I mean, it's just an SMU home game.
Not my bet, but my game. I'm gonna take SMU.
I originally picked Tulane thinking they were playing in Louisiana, but now I'll change it to SMU.
I'll take SMU and Richard McBride.
You got it right.
All right, let's go. We've already picked Oklahoma State. Now let's go to Boise, who we all remember from their trip to Troy, at Colorado State, which is the former school where Jim McElwain used to coach.
And that's
Is Bobo still the coach there, Mike?
Yeah.
You know, that's another team that, if I'm not mistaken, Alabama plays next year. And when they scheduled this game 4 or 5 years ago, McElwain was there, D. Hart was there, and Colorado State was winning 9 or 10 games.
You're right. You can't tell when
So
you
there's
schedule
no way
what-
to predict the future.
And then the SEC games are set for you by the conference.
What do you think?
I think he probably will.
I think everybody's going for Boise.
I got Boise.
Everybody, yeah.
Boise's
I'll take Boise.
okay.
They won.
Perhaps one of the best games on the board, or toughest to pick, is Virginia Tech at Virginia. Virginia Tech has been red hot, and Virginia's pretty good. They're playing in Virginia. I checked the line this morning. I think Virginia Tech is a 1.5 favorite, but they're playing at Virginia. You know it's got to be a huge rivalry. Mike, I'll let you get started on this one. Tough game.
This is a perfect Turkey Bowl classic right here. The orange and brown of Virginia Tech against their rival, Virginia. Virginia Tech is playing very good right now. I want to say they're 8-3. I'll take Virginia Tech.
Kids are helping. Both teams are 8-3.
All right, both teams 8-3.
One's first in the Coastal, and the other one's. So this may be a game to determine who goes and plays Clemson.
Yeah, it will be, I bet. What do you think, Jim?
Okay.
I'm going to take Virginia Tech.
They're hot.
I'm taking Virginia. No Tech.
Where's this game being played?
At Virginia.
At Virginia? All right, I'll take Virginia.
I should have said in Virginia.
Yeah, that's right.
Virginia Tech had a terrible loss to somebody early in the year, and I kind of wrote them off, but they have rallied.
They've gotten better.
Oh, my goodness, I can't.
Now, somebody could win on this one right here. Now, Virginia Tech and Virginia. Who did y'all take? Everybody take Virginia Tech?
I took Virginia.
A couple of them took Virginia.
That quarterback is in Virginia. He is really good.
Virginia's losses are to Notre Dame, Louisville, and Miami, who is a terrible team.
I'm taking Virginia.
Virginia Tech's losses are to Boston College,
Bad.
Notre Dame,
Okay.
and Duke.
Bad.
And that Notre Dame game was a close one, too, if I remember right.
Yes, it was.
You mean Duke beat Virginia Tech? Golly.
They didn't just beat them. They beat them 45-10.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Whoa.
Well, we've moved through the picks faster than we ever have, and that gives us plenty of time to dissect this game. Alabama is playing to try to make the playoffs. Can't win the SEC. They're facing Auburn, who's had a good year but has lost 3 games. But you've got to think their season would be made if they could beat their rival again for the second year in a row in Auburn. So, Mike Amos, give us your best analysis of what's going to take place at Jordan-Hare Saturday.
How about Little Mike? Go ahead, Mike.
All right? Little Mike, then.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's just a situation where Bo Nix is, struggling in all the big games. He's, had a hard time, making the big play, and his turnovers, been issues in those games as well. But unfortunately, I feel like he's going to play his best game against Alabama, and I just do not like Mac Jones going into that environment. I mean, I know he's been pretty decent against Arkansas and Western Carolina, but I just don't see Alabama being able to win the game for some reason. I don't know. I haven't picked against Alabama all year, but I just feel like Auburn's going to find a way to win. I don't know how, but I just don't like this matchup with Tua not being able to play. And I'm going to take Auburn in a close one, probably around 27-24.
Wait a minute. You took Auburn to beat Alabama, Mike?
I just don't think the Mac Jones can beat them.
Okay. Mac Jones out of Bowles High School in Jacksonville. Hey, that's pretty good ingredients right there.
Yep, I've got a friend whose wife taught him at the Bowles School. Said he's a good kid.
Auburn's defense is the real deal. It's just I think they're going to have a hard time scoring touchdowns against Auburn.
Jim, I'm going to let you have this last. I'm going to move in here. I tell you, playing at Auburn is a tough place. And Mike and I were at a game 2 or 3 years ago, which was a game that Alabama threw to the back out of the backfield. And
that was Roy Upchurch. That was Roy Upchurch. That's about 8 or 9 years ago.
That would have been in
2009, 10 years ago.
We were leaving the game just to tell you how huge this game is, especially at Auburn. They are as rapid as you can get. But on this last play, you could have heard a pin drop. And ladies and gentlemen, and Auburn fans were literally falling face down on the ground in front of us.
We walked by several people on the ground crying. I mean, just like could not.
It was like it was
not even be consoled.
I mean, this was a football game, but they were treating it like it was death. Isn't that right?
and that was a game that Alabama was favored pretty heavily in.
Yeah, that's the undefeated season.
Yeah.
They should have made a monument for Upchurch because he won the ball game.
They did a Daniel Moore portrait.
People in the world, you could have said won the ball game. Upchurch would have been one of the last.
Well, he didn't get a monument, but he got a Daniel Moore painting. That's as close as you can get.
Did he really?
That's what Michael says. He's right.
That is as close as you can get.
Greg McElroy was just perfect on that drive, though.
You know, as much as this game means to Alabama, I think it means even more to Auburn. It gives them structure for the whole year to walk down the street and say, "Hey, we won." It's almost like that. I mean, it seems like for some reason they want it sometimes more than I think Alabama wants it. But the door's been left wide open to not play in this game, and they let what is he, a redshirt sophomore?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Redshirt sophomore from Jacksonville, Florida, do the job. I got a feeling he's a winner, and I think Alabama will be challenged to run the football. If they're able to run the football at all, they've got a chance to win the game. If they can't run the football, it's all over. Auburn's going to win the game. That's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Well, who's going to win the game?
I'll take Alabama to win.
Give us a score.
Oh, yeah, let me give you a score. The score is going to be 31-24, Alabama.
So you think Alabama's field goal kicker can make a field goal in Jordan-Hare Stadium?
Well,
That'll be the first time in about 10 years that's happened.
Field goal or something like that.
That's one of the keys to the game is special teams, and Auburn certainly wins the field goal kicker matchup and the punter matchup.
He's not great. He's not as good as his protege.
But no, he's a lot better than Alabama's, though.
Yeah.
All right, well,
All right,
I hope you're right, Mike. Jim, I want to hear what you say. Or you want me to go first?
It doesn't make me any difference.
All right.
all right, you go first, Brian.
Well, I think that Michael and Mike made great points. I'll echo them about can Mac Jones win in that environment. I think it does mean more to Auburn in these years where both teams are good. Typically, if Auburn has a good team and they're playing in Auburn, Auburn wins the game. Auburn had a good team 2 years ago and won the game. Auburn had a good team in 2013, the kick six game, and won the game. Auburn's got a good team this year. I think special teams could be key. Alabama's got issues at punting the ball and kicking field goals. So if it comes down to a field goal, Alabama's in trouble. You'll see my score. I don't have any about Alabama's kicking any field goals, just touchdowns.
I couldn't even name you the kicker. Can y'all
Yeah, his last name is Bulova.
you know his name?
Joseph Bulovas.
And the extra points are an adventure.
And the punter's name's Piron.
A walk-on from Prattville. He's better than that scholarship guy that couldn't. I could kick it far.
Alabama's going to have to win on a walk-on from Prattville.
If they do.
That Skylar DeLong was maybe the worst recruit ever at punter.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Michael. God.
I mean, what's the scholarship on that guy?
Well, the scholarship, the walk-on punter dropped the snap right in his hands against LSU. So that tells you what pressure might have done to him. But
Who you going to pick, Russ?
I'm going to pick Auburn 24-21, and it's kind of sad if this works out. Auburn will win this game and have momentum. They'll probably win the bowl game. Auburn will end up 10-3. If Alabama loses, which I think they will, they'll almost certainly lose their bowl game. Both teams will end up the season with the exact same record, but who will have all the big momentum? So how quickly things change.
There's no doubt.
Now, if Tua Tagovailoa was starting for Alabama, I would pick Alabama. And
yeah, there's no doubt. I would have picked Alabama in a heartbeat if Tua was playing.
I hope I'm wrong, but I think Auburn in a tight game. Although it wouldn't surprise me if Auburn got the momentum and put it on Alabama as well. So I'll go with Auburn and cross my fingers and hope I'm wrong. All right, your turn, Jim.
I look at it as it's a great matchup of strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness. Alabama's strength is their playmakers on offense. They got four guys outside.
Right.
I feel like they've got the best running back.
Okay.
There's no doubt Auburn's got the best defense.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's weakness is on defense. They struggle. Fortunately for Alabama, Auburn struggles on offense. They just can't. They don't have much of a passing game. They haven't been able to throw the ball consistently all year. I think Nix will be I don't think he'll be a great quarterback. I think he'll be a serviceable quarterback in 2 or 3 years, but I don't think he's there yet. I think it's 1 or 2 plays, big plays, and if Auburn gets over 20 points, I think they'll win the game.
Okay.
But I'm not sure they can. And if there's going to be a couple of big plays broken during the game, I'm going to give that advantage to Alabama's skill players because they've got so many of them.
You're right.
Across the board.
Waddle
There's no doubt. If there is a big play in the kicking game that turns the game, I think it'll be a Jason Waddle punt return. I don't think it'll be a missed field goal because, Nick's smart enough to know he doesn't have a very good field goal kicker. He's not going to try any 45 or 50-yarders.
You're right. Go for it.
Yeah, and you would think Auburn's smart enough to kick the ball away from Waddle. Most people have. A lot of people don't know it, but Waddle is third all-time in average yards per return during his career at 20.2. I can't remember the guy's name that leads at 23.7, but it was back in the 60s.
Gosh, that's good.
So, yeah.
Javier Arenas was a good punt return, too.
Might have been as Robin Carey.
But I just think Alabama's it's going to be a boring game. I don't think it's going to be an up and down the field type deal. There'll probably be several mistakes made. Might be a couple turnovers for each team. I just don't think Auburn can get above 20. I'm going to take Alabama to win the game 27-20 just because they've got a lot more playmakers. Now, if it's raining during the game, that changes everything.
That's good analysis.
For me.
Yeah.
Because it takes away a little bit of the advantage that Alabama's got on the outside.
You talked about big plays, and Alabama, anytime those receivers touch the ball, they can go the distance.
Anytime. It doesn't matter if they catch it 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, a slant 5 yards from the line, and Auburn just doesn't have they got the one guy, Schwartz, that if you fail to contain him on a reverse or a sweep or something,
that's right,
he can go the distance. But that's the only way he's going to break it.
Malzahn runs these gimmick eye candy plays, and a lot of them have hit against Alabama. If you think back, and what I worry about Alabama is these young linebackers. They're going to follow all this misdirection that Malzahn throws in there and get out of position. So I can see Auburn hitting 1 or 2 big plays against Alabama too.
But I just don't see Malzahn being patient enough to do that all the way down the field. And Auburn probably could. They could probably run a lot of the misdirection stuff and use Whitlow and is it DJ Williams, the H-back or the tight end across the middle or in the flat, because they can confuse Alabama's young linebackers. But I don't think Gus Malzahn's got enough patience to do that 8, 10, 12 times in a row all the way down the field.
I think he'll try some of these funny plays and try to hit a home run.
When you don't have to.
Yeah.
Updated weather forecast. The weather's gotten better, though. It's 70, low 56, and only 20% chance of rain now Saturday.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Another thing that hurts Alabama is a running quarterback. All year they've gashed Alabama's defense. And I wonder how much Bo Nix will run in this game, either with designed runs or just dropping back and seeing an alley and running. He hadn't run much.
They're saying they're going to run Nix a lot, so I think that's going to be something Alabama's got to get ready for.
Do you really think they'll do that with nobody behind him?
Yeah, they got nothing to lose now.
He's a pretty athletic guy, though. He's a lot faster than people think.
No doubt.
You talking about Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nix can run.
All right, let's let Coach Lee have it.
All right, here's my take. They're going to win for Tua, and they're going to win because their backs are on the wall. They're backed up to the wall and nobody's
pushing them.
Yeah, I think because of Tua factor, and they're going to gel as a team. It's going to be a rough environment, sure. I think
Always
Alabama wins 24-21, but I think it's going to be a war. And but I believe I'm hoping the Bama crew will show up and rock and roll. And we've had one bad half the whole year, and that's over. And but I've got fully confidence in our quarterback and our offensive line, defensive line, and we got some holes there defensively in the defensive line. But
and is Raekwon going to play? Is DJ going to play? There's still a ton of unanswered questions.
So
this show is brought to you by Bill Jackson Chevrolet Ford on the bypass in Troy. Jim, I know it's heading to the holiday season, and I ask you this question every year: will you bring Bo and bring the car to their house on Christmas morning with a red bow on it?
Oh yeah, deliver the car, put a bow on it, whatever you need doing.
That's right. I'm okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that means you'll bring a brand new car to your house and with a big red bow on it if you'll buy a Ford or Chevrolet truck from Bill Jackson Chevrolet Ford in Troy. Let me have some fun here. We got about.
Do you have to pay more to request Jim to actually bring it?
Jim will. In fact, I would make y'all make Jim bring it to your house. Then honk the horn. You'll honk it twice, and then he'll leave.
I can do it.
I wish somebody would give me that gift.
How about Troy Appalachian State, Dad? Who's going to win that game?
That's next.
Oh, boy, that's going to be a big one, and we're going to hit that in a second. But quickly, I've written down some things, and y'all say yes or no. All right, looking at Alabama, which quarterback do you think will have the hardest time in this ball game? The young Alabama quarterback or the young Auburn quarterback? Which one do you think will handle the pressure the best?
I think Bo Nix playing it at home.
Yeah, Bo Nix.
I'm not sure. You know, it's Mac Jones' third year. I think being in Auburn definitely tilts that toward Nix. But if Mac Jones can handle the noise early, then that changes everything too.
You're right there.
Jones.
Balance is so important in the game. Which team, and of course, the Nix is mostly a play action, a play action type passer. What do y'all think?
No doubt. You know, Auburn tries to confuse you with emotion and all the gimmicks, and that's what's probably the most worrisome thing is with Alabama's linebackers. Can they play disciplined football? Not chase the person, but watch the ball.
Yep.
Sometimes you can't blitz. Sometimes they'll catch you in the blitz, and they can beat you in the blitz. You got to be careful, don't you?
They do, but they don't have much of a deep threat.
Will Hastings is going to kill Alabama on their linebackers.
He's an inside receiver for Auburn. That's really, he's an underachiever. Really,
he's the former third-string kicker. We need to move it to Troy Appalachian State. I'm going to say that Troy loses, and this is one of the more disappointing seasons I've ever seen in Troy football history. This team had won 31 games the last 3 years. They're going to finish 5-7. And I'll be honest, I don't know what happened, but just get shocked at what's happened with Troy's football this year.
I like App State in this game 41-26. I'm just not sure Troy's got much to play for. I know they get to 6-6 if they win, or can they get to 6-6?
Yeah, they can get to 6-6, but it's just.
But I still don't think they'll make it to a bowl game even at 6-6.
I got App State 48, Troy 21.
So I got App State 44, Troy 30. I know what happened, Mike. You were the one that figured it out early on. Just Troy had way too many losses and attrition on defense.
They had six guys that were starters coming back on defense that ended up not being on the roster. So, but I think App State will win 38-24.
38-24. All right, Mike Amos.
All right, well, let me tell you a couple of things. All right, the reason Troy got beat so bad last week is because they defended our pass game better than anybody all year long. Their corners and their safeties covered our receivers like a blanket. And if you remember, Barker did not have those quick passes that they could go to, or those wide open receivers. You know, he had that all year long. This guy's thrown for over 3,300 yards already in his career in this one season at Troy, which is phenomenal. He is a great passer if he's got time, and that's the big deal. They were so good. They were so balanced. They were able to run the football at will. They were able to throw the football at will. I think Troy matches up a lot better with App State. Now, you look at some App State scores, especially against South Alabama, they were pretty close. And I think that Troy does match up better. This is a huge game for Troy. One of the biggest games in Troy history as far as turning a season around. If Troy could beat App State, it would turn their whole season around. They would go 6-6. They'd go to a bowl and do like all the other good teams other than the Final Four that play for national championship, go to a bowl and have a great time for the fans. They could turn it around with a win. Playing at home is huge, huge for Troy. And I really believe this. Just like the Georgia Southern, how many naysayers did we have? I said against Georgia Southern, they were one-dimensional. I'm not saying that Appalachian State's going to be one-dimensional. All Georgia Southern could do was run the football. We stopped that with an 8-9 man front. I don't know if we could go 8 men. We'll try to go 8 men in front, take the run away from Appalachian State, make them be destroyed. I really, really, really believe Troy can win this football game. The final score in a huge touchdown scoring game, Troy 42, App State 38.
That's what winners are made of. I love that, Mike, and you make some strong points. Let's hope everybody turns out and supports the Trojans against a ranked Appalachian State team. Should be a great football game, regardless.
Didn't hear your score, Jim. What did you say?
I picked App State 41-26.
All right, 41-26. It's going to be a great week.
Michael, you hang on. I missed one. Michael Amos,
I'm sorry, Boris.
Sir, I had 48-21 App,
and Michael Amos, who did you pick in Texas Tech?
Appalachian State.
I took Texas.
Okay.
And SMU Tulane game.
SMU Tulane.
It's going to be
I took SMU.
Okay, thanks. I missed.
Interesting thing to look for Saturday in defensive philosophies in the Alabama-Auburn game. I think they'll approach it separately. I think Auburn will try to keep all the receivers in front of them and assume they can get pressure with their front four. I think Alabama will take the opposite approach. I think you'll see Alabama play a lot of man coverage and put everybody inside trying to confuse Nix. I'm not sure Auburn can cover Alabama man-to-man unless they've got enough confidence that Jones is not going to have enough time.
I tell you what, Diggs needs to play a lot better than he played against LSU.
Yeah, that was his worst game, no doubt.
Now, let me tell you the real deal. How many times have you seen Alabama play and you didn't think they could win? How many times? Very, very few times you've ever been able to say Alabama's going to lose football.
In the last 10 years, yeah, very few.
That is when they turn around and win. I love Alabama here. Alabama's going to beat Auburn mainly because their fans don't think they will.
And you know, Auburn.
Great example of Alabama winning a football game and nobody gives them a chance.
Auburn fans are kind of on the fence too. You know, the ones I talk to are, well, you know, if we lose, maybe we get rid of Gus. So I haven't talked to a lot of Auburn fans that have a real strong opinion one way or the other.
I give Alabama a chance. I think it's a coin flip.
Yeah, Alabama's a 4-point favorite.
I know, but a lot of people in Alabama minds, and y'all are all very conscious Alabama fans, y'all really don't think they win the game, and this is when Alabama plays their best. On the road, in hostile environment, look for the Crimson Tide to win this football game, and Auburn's going to have a heartbreaker.
The biggest difference and I picked Alabama. I think Alabama will win the game, but the biggest difference in this one, Mike, is they don't usually go on the road into these hostile environments with all these freshmen and inexperienced players. They usually go with 3- and 4-year guys that are used to what's coming and expect what's coming.
You know, I hope you mentioned the changing plays and crowd noise. I hope Mac Jones doesn't get in there and think he can change plays when it's the loudest stadium in the world. You know, Alabama's going to get procedure penalties.
Are we even on the air? It's 8:33.
What?
Still on for
Yeah, we do need to go.
Well, let's.
Makes a big deal. Alabama, they're balanced. They're going to win the game. But if Auburn can shut down the run and make Jones have to beat you throwing it, we could be in trouble.
Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving, a great holiday. Enjoy the family time. And then next week, I guess we'll return to Thursday morning, normal time.
All right.
Yes, sir. We'll see you tomorrow bright and early. But today in L.A.,